Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Billy Nash. Welcome to my podcast, Luxury Real Estate with me, Billy Nash. Thanks for everybody listening. We've gotten some awesome feedback since we've been back from Europe. Questions from luxury realtors, entrepreneurs, business owners from all over the country, locally and throughout South Florida. So it's exciting that we got lots of people listening. We're getting them fired up and motivated, and we're keeping them dialed in on their business. So just kind of week in review. We're on episode 25. Nothing really spectacular to report here in South Florida. The real estate business continues to chug along. I did say last week that I see things percolating a little bit more than they were in the in the second quarter, and it's definitely happening. We've gotten multiple calls from out-of-state buyers. We have 2 spectacular listings we're going to be putting on the market in the $20 million range. Just this morning, we have an off-market opportunity which just came to the table in the $3 to $4 million range, and then we'll put that on the market sometime in October. That'll be off-market, and we actually we're looking at a ranch for a very loyal client over the weekend that we've been kind of zeroed in on, and that looks like it didn't hit all of the. It didn't cross the T's and dot the I's, so we walked away from that one. But we're out there, we're on the hunt, and we're looking to do big stuff. So stay loyal to your clients, and your clients stay loyal to you, and good things happen. So I wanted to also say, definitely put our hearts out and say a prayer for everybody that's in Maui that was affected by those terrible fires. I actually have a friend, Matt Beal, who sits on the board with me, and if he's listening, sits on the board with me at Sotheby's. Matt has Hawaii Life, which is the largest luxury brokerage in the Hawaiian Islands. And Matt, if you're listening, our hearts go out to you and all the residents of Maui, and Maui strong, and hopefully that over the next couple of years, they'll have an amazing rebuild and everybody stays together. But definitely something that absolutely sucked. So our hearts go out. But today, keeping on to, staying true to the theme of entrepreneurship, building your business, I wanted to bring on someone that's, of course, whoever comes on my show has to be someone that I think is incredibly successful, can add tremendous value to the listeners, is a good guy or a good gal, has a good soul, and can share their experiences to help people that are listening that are either building their business, they either have a business, and they want to just get some nice, tips and strategies to continue to grow. And one other thing first, before I introduce my guest, I am going to be the keynote speaker, and I mentioned this about a week ago. I'm going to be the keynote speaker up in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and it's going to be for, there's about 70,000 veterans that are moving to Florida over the next 3 years. I've been honored to be the keynote speaker to the Veteran Alliance, and there'll be probably about 170 realtors from around the South Florida, and also there'll be some speakers from around the country coming in to talk to agents about building their business around this niche in the market, because there's a ton of business there, and these veterans need our help and our support. And guess what? I know a lot of veterans that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? When you think of a veteran, just don't think of someone that's just coming out of the bush with camouflage on, right? A lot of these guys dedicated their lives and to the service, but they need us and they need our expertise, and that will be a wonderful event in Port St. Lucie, and I'll give everybody the details specifically on my next podcast. And if you're around and you're listening, come. I know the seats are limited. So with that, I want to introduce my guest, who is to me, I'm super proud of. Over the last 3.5 years, he's built a tremendously successful business, and I think it's very similar to the people that are listening that are building their business. Again, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you got it in your belly, right? You got the fire in your belly, and you're focused, and you're dedicated, and you're loyal, good things happen. So I'm going to introduce Rocky Leiner, who has built a great business called Rocky's Ultimate Garage. And I'll let Rocky kind of tell you a little briefly about what his business does. And then we're going to dig into some questions because I think Rocky has a lot of similarities to all of the successful entrepreneurs that are listening to this podcast who are either in the business and are growing, maybe they hit a plateau and they want to continue to grow, or you just started in the business as a realtor or just as an entrepreneur in another industry and you're looking for some motivation because guess what? This is America. And if you put your heart and soul to it, anybody can succeed. No lazy people on this podcast. And with that, I'm going to introduce everybody to Rocky. What's up, Rocky?
Billy, what's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
Awesome, dude. So tell me a little bit about, I know that I had identified the building for you, which was a former mattress firm building when the building was purchased. And then you had this vision. You had this vision to build Rocky's Ultimate Garage, and you executed on all cylinders. Tell me a little bit about, how you came. First of all, what is Rocky's Ultimate Garage?
So Rocky's Ultimate Garage, we are South Florida's #1 destination for paint protection film, ceramic coating, window tints, custom wraps, wheels, and we are also a luxury and exotic car dealership. So we do a little bit of everything there. I try to be my best at being a one-stop shop for high-quality vehicles.
So tell me, what kind of, so I know that the vehicles, run the gamut between collector cars to brand new Lambos. Give me some examples for the people that are car buffs that are listening, what kind of cars do you see come through the shop?
Everything. Our target market is Palm Beach. And if you just drive through Palm Beach, you see everything out there. We have everything from little classic Fiat 500s that you can pick up with you and your buddy off the floor, from Ferraris, Lamborghinis, just your everyday, Honda Civics. But our business really attracts the unique and high-end cars.
That's interesting. And so when did you come up with the idea and say, when did you sit back and say, I'm dialed in here. I want to focus. And tell me, walk us through the process. How does that you just don't wake up overnight and have a successful business?
So cars have always been my passion, always. Ever since I was a little kid, something about it just naturally gravitated me towards it. I was in the scrap metal business for 9 years working for my family. And when I wasn't there, I was working on my cars. I was in my shed, in my garage, not even cars, just anything with wheels and tires or an engine, dirt bikes, everything. And I really just felt like that's what made me happy. And I said, why am I not doing this full time? And I sat down, I had a conversation with my dad, and I told him I was leaving the family business, which was a tough decision to make, There's a lot of pressure on me to be there. And, I felt like I just needed to chase happiness instead of financial.
Boom. Did you hear what he just said? That's something that we've talked about many times on previous podcasts, being happy at what you do.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you're miserable doing what you do, stop listening to this podcast and go, start another, go get into another industry. Happiness is key. Happiness is the key to success. If you're happy at what you're doing, it ain't work, right? If you're happy at what you're doing, it ain't work. So that's interesting. So keep going because that's cool stuff. That's good stuff.
Yeah. So, the main thing that was so important to me was, sitting my dad down and saying I'm leaving the family business that I've already been working at for 9 years was nerve-wracking for me. I had no idea how he was going to respond to that. But he was completely supportive of my decision. He completely understood where I was coming from, and he's been by my side from beginning to end with this business, which is great for me, which was a huge help. He's the best businessman I know. And I could call him whenever I needed advice, help with anything, and through every step of the way, especially in the beginning, like when we were finding the building, running around with you guys. You were there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
there's another thing that Rocky just mentioned, which I think we've talked about before, passion, right? If you're passionate about your business, good things happen. And it sounds to me like Rocky's pretty passionate. And I always say there's a thin line from being passionate and being a pain in the ass. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was in the scrap metal business, I used to wake up and I'd say, I'm going to work today. All right, let's just kind of get through it, do what I have to do, get everything done, go back home. But now I pop out of bed before my alarm every day, even after 2.5 years of doing this. And I'm just excited to just get into work and attack everything and get everything done.
There you go, 5 a.m. club, right? I'm a big believer in it. Get up and get your groove on. So, there's a lot of people listening that are, like I said, growing their business. They're entrepreneurs. They're looking for ideas. When you look across the landscape of what you've done in the last 4 years, what was your biggest challenge?
Oh man, that's tough. I've had a lot of challenges, but I think my biggest challenge was figuring out how to run the entire operation myself. I'm customer service, I'm sales, I'm running the wrap shop, the tint shop, I'm managing a team of 11 guys. Just wearing all these different hats and being able to do it successfully was a huge challenge for me.
And that's something that as a luxury real estate agent, we do as well, right? We're managing relationships. You have to manage the contracts and the offers. You have to stay in compliance with all the rules and regulations, of course. You have to stay loyal. You can't burn any bridges with other agents because that hurts you in the long run. Right? One of the things I'm a big believer in, if you're an agent and you're listening to this podcast, don't burn any bridges because it'll stick with you for life, right? There's people that burn bridges with me. I can count them on my fingers, and that's the way it should be. But at the end of the day, like Rocky said, I think that's, you're preaching to the choir, big believer. So when you talk about, challenges, right? We all have challenges in our business. I have challenges every day, Our business is built on being disappointed, right? Because it always starts with no. Someone comes into me and, I hear no. And, 28 years of doing deals, both in private banking, and in the real estate business, right? I've been disappointed so many times. But it's the way you handle that disappointment, which is critical to how you make a comeback, right? So I'm sure you experience disappointments in the business and you get bummed out. How do you handle it?
Yeah, every once in a while that happens. It's all about your reaction to it. Typically a disappointment happens when a customer brings their car to me, something didn't go as planned, whether it was in my control or out of it. It all depends on how you deliver it to the customer. If you call them freaking out, screaming, oh my God, I can't believe this happened, I don't have a solution. The number one thing that I emphasize on is having a solution to your problem before making any phone calls. You can't call somebody and say, I don't know how to do this, I'm going to figure it out. No, you figure it out, then you call the customer and say, this happened, this is how we're going to fix it, it'll be ready for you Friday.
You know what? That's such a great thing to think about what you said, Rock, because I'm a big believer and I preach that also. One of the things, they're not problems. There's something that has come up and we have the solution to it. Exactly. Nothing should ever be a problem.
Never.
Right? You never say the word problem. If there's something that's come up, it needs to be solved. It's simple as that. And it makes the process go so much smoother, right? It's such a non-threatening thing to say is, the terrible thing to say is we have a problem.
Yep.
We have a fucking issue. By the way, we're both from New Jersey, so we signed a disclaimer. Sorry for the F-bombs. But, always have a solution to something, a bump in the road that you got to fix. So let me ask you another question, Rocky. I think this is important. How important to you and your business, and this is incredibly important to luxury real estate agents, is your brand?
Oh, so important. It's
what is brand to you? What does that mean?
My brand.
What is that word? If somebody says, what does brand mean to you? I mean, how do you feel about that?
So before I owned this business, to me, a brand was just like your logo, how people kind of see your logo, how they perceive you, like your online presence. I had the completely wrong idea about it. Now I see your brand as your reputation. And, around town, Palm Beach is a small area. A lot of people know each other here. And if someone says Rocky's Ultimate Garage somewhere, I want everyone to say that place is amazing. Great things about it. That's my brand to me, is my reputation. And one of the things that stuck with me from one of your podcasts a long time ago was you said your reputation walks into the room before you do. And to me, that goes hand in hand.
So you do listen to the podcast. You aren't full of shit.
I do sometimes.
That's awesome. And I did say that. Remember that. Your reputation arrives in the room before you do.
What do you think about that?
Oh, for me.
What's your brand to you?
Brand to me is my personality. It's the way I can connect with potential clients. It's the way I connect with existing relationships. It's the way I want people to look at my business. My business is all about branding and delivering results and being loyal and not hurting other agents, not burning any bridges. Those are the things to me. I've been in business for a long time. There's a lot of young agents that run around and they're gunslingers, and they've been in the business for 4 or 5 years. I'm kind of a salty soul. I've been around for 30 years, right? I've been through 2 market collapses. I worked at Bear Stearns. I can go head to head with any fucking chairman of any Fortune 500 company or go in the back in the kitchen and help the guy washing the dishes, right? So that's my brand. I'm here to help and deliver a message, which to me, is just being there, being a resource, being a go-to agent, and also helping other agents, not hurting other agents, and at the end of the day, that's just the way I am. Branding to me is a reflection of my everyday life, right? It's hard to bifurcate what you do every day from your business. It kind of molds together, right? So if you're having fun doing it, like real estate doesn't stop for me ever. It's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, no matter where you are in the world, right? So I'm sure it's the same for you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Customer bought a car. They got a question at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. I'm answering it.
Exactly. Yep. So you don't you don't leave you don't punch out at 5 o'clock and then not think about, some sort of exotic car or some new strategy until the next day. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Right. So branding to me is a reflection of who you are. And that's why you got to be real careful to make sure it's pristine.
Absolutely. It all falls under the reputation umbrella, all those little things that you just discussed.
Right. So that's so if you had to look back, when you started this business, what would be the craziest thing that's happened, in the last, 3.5 years now you've been, it's about 3 years. It took a while to open the shop. You guys did a year before you opened up, there were mattresses in there. And you walk in there now, you're like, holy shit, it's like state-of-the-art car show, amazing. Anybody that is listening that's in South Florida or visiting Florida, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, Rocky's Garage, go in there, mention Cousin Billy, he'll give you a 1% discount. But it's an amazing show in there. What they do is incredible. But, what would you say, start to finish? You walked in there, you had a shell.
A shell.
Walk us through that, because that's vision.
I remember staring at this building. I didn't say it out loud. I was with you and my dad out front, and it was rough, man. There was plants overgrown everywhere, like this nasty tiling. The place looked like it was abandoned for 10 years. And, we had a vision, and I'm just, this was my first time doing something like this, and I'm like, are you guys sure? This is a lot. Is this possible even? And
we looked at other locations, and I kept on drilling back to saying, listen, you want eyeballs, you want traffic, you're starting a business which is going to be very competitive. Guess what? The best car dealerships in the area, you could hit a football with them, right? You got Bentley, Rolls Royce, Porsche, Ferrari, Lamborghini, all within a yodel away.
Right, and that was such a good decision, especially because even if I'm not doing business directly with these dealerships, they're talking about us because they see us every single day. Some of the other locations we looked at, we'd be far away from these guys. We wouldn't be right in there.
It's exactly what we discussed when I was advising you and Dad on the building. The visibility was key, especially in if you're building a brand like that. And you did it. And I'm very proud of you. And I think everybody that's listening, like I said, if you're in that area, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, you have an exotic car, you have a car that you want to get wrapped, you want it dolled up, you want it to have a little TLC, Rocky's place is off the charts. So with that, Rocky, if you had to give some advice, in a couple of sentences to someone that's listening, let's say they are, have a successful business, they're trying to take it to the next level. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. So you have someone that just started a business. They're kind of frustrated. They've only been doing it for a few months. They might not see the immediate results, but they're passionate about it and they have vision. What would your advice be to that listener?
know what you're talking about, have confidence in what you're talking about, 100%, and be yourself. When I first started, I felt like a robot. I was a little overly professional because this was my first time ever really dealing with, the public directly. And I'm dealing with some heavy hitters that come into this shop, and they try to control the transaction. And that's another thing, too. Always be in control of your business. Don't let anybody else dictate what you're going to do and when. Stay in control of your entire business.
Perfect for realtors.
Yep.
We talk about that.
Yep.
When you got the Johnny O that knows all about everything, those are probably the worst people you want to deal with. But go ahead.
And be yourself. I felt like a robot up front. I was trying to be overly professional. And once I kind of started to reel it back in, get a little more comfortable and be myself, the confidence sort of came naturally as well. And one thing that my dad always emphasizes to me too is people do business with people that they like.
100%.
You have to be personable. The guy that cuts my hair, I love him to death. He doesn't give me the best haircut in the world every time. I know he can get one better, but he's such a great guy. I keep going back to him.
Yeah. And that's so important. That's so important, Rocky. That was a great thing to say. I'm telling you.
If you can deliver great quality along with a likable personality and a great business, there's no reason people wouldn't go to you.
And that goes back to a podcast I said, the $10 million no, where I told a guy, literally, he turned out to be such an asshole that I fired him the day before we were putting the property on MLS. Literally. He couldn't believe that I told him I have no interest. Shot the property, got it ready, $8 million. I said, you know what? This guy's just a jerk. I don't want to deal with him. So deal with nice people. So it's refreshing to hear you say that because I say it all the time. We only want to deal with nice people, that we want to be in the same room with, and good things happen. Second question, if you have somebody, to give somebody, advice and they have a business and it is established, right? But they're starting to get bored, right? They're doing business. They have a 10-year business and they're just kind of feeling like they're losing their way. What would you advise to them? Will be some good advice.
What I like to do is, with my guys that work for me, they all come from different backgrounds and have different sets of skills. And one day, randomly, one of them will just bring up, hey, I know how to install neon lights under a car. I'll be like, hang on, what? And then we'll start getting into a different side of the business that I never knew existed, which is still under the Rocky's Ultimate Garage, cool car stuff. And I think that just find the right people that have different skills that still fall under your category, but maybe branch out a little bit and figure out what they can do, because you could have a lot of fun going down a new path.
Yeah, and it refires up all the cylinders in the engine.
Yeah.
Right? So, Rock, you've got an amazing website. You built an amazing brand. I'm really proud of you. The sky's the limit. You've become the go-to guy, in the Palm Beaches, around South Florida. You're starting to work with all these MMA champions, which is cool because, if they walk out and don't pay their bill, you want to wrestle them out front. But hopefully that doesn't happen because these are some tough dudes.
It happened again yesterday.
So, yeah, this is a great story. So Rocky's got some jiu-jitsu in him and he's a wrestler, but these MMA guys are all coming into the shop now.
Do you want me to start it? Tell you how this happened?
Yeah, UFC guys.
Oh my gosh. So I get these beautiful custom suits made with my logo on the inside. They say Rocky's Ultimate Garage, and the people that make them are wonderful. It's called Mark Russell Custom Clothing. And Mark and his wife, Christy, are fantastic. They come to you, they show up, they show you samples, everything. You got to check them out. They just opened a location in Palm Beach, too. And they work with a lot of UFC fighters. So when the UFC fighters show up to the press conference in the beautiful suits, they're all made by Mark Russell. And I explained to them one day, I'm a big UFC fan. I see all these UFC fighters on your Instagram. They're like, oh, yeah, we work with them. And then they just started a group chat one day with me and Vicente Luque, who is the number 10, I believe, welterweight in the world right now. And he's a big car guy. And I was just messaging him, DMing him back and forth on Instagram. And I said, hey, you want to get some PPF done on your Mustang, but if you can take me down to the ground, you get half off. And he took it very literal.
And you put that on your YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole, you check out my Instagram, YouTube, it's all up there. So he came to the shop, I worked on his car, and then we went over to the jiu-jitsu gym, and I was like, man, I should have never opened my mouth. This guy ripped me to shreds. So his buddy, Gilbert Burns, number 5 in the world right now, he came to the shop. We just wrapped his truck. He picked it up yesterday, and he said, "What? I don't get the same deal?" And I'm like, no way.
So he wants to wrestle you.
And he's like, you got no option. I was like, come on. So we go to the gym yesterday again. This dude was choking me out, arm barring me and stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to tell all the rest of the guys. I'm going to tell Michael Chandler, Kamaru Usman. I'm like, please do not. I'm deleting all of the videos now. I don't want this to keep happening, man.
So all the UFC guys, they think you get a discount. If Rocky can pin them, they get a discount.
Yep.
And so you're 0 for 2?
I'm 0 for 2, yeah.
So with that, we're going to wrap it up. And Rocky, how do people find you on of course, everybody can listen to this on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. And please share this download with others so the algorithm can share this out to more of the masses around the country. But Rocky, how do people find, and everybody can find me, nash.billy on Instagram. Nashluxury.com is my website. But Rocky, how do people find you?
Instagram and my website, just at Rocky's Ultimate Garage or Rocky'sUltimateGarage.com.
Awesome. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. And if any UFC guys want to wrestle me, if you pin me, you have to buy a property for $4 million.
Those are dangerous words.
No, that's a guarantee.
They're all going to see this. This is dangerous words.
Hey, listen, if they pin me the first 3 seconds, I'll reduce my commission by 10%.
I'm sending this to those guys.
There you go. That's right. So that'll definitely happen. So they're definitely going to get a discount because I don't think I'm going to pin any of the UFC guys. But with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Episode 25 of my podcast. Stay loyal, stay true. Thank you for everybody for listening. I love you. Go out there, do deals, and I'll talk to everybody next week for episode 26. Billy Nash, we're out.